Our next speaker is a junior, José Luis Gandara, telling us a story from his life.
You don't deserve to be here. Those are the words that were said to me. These words pierced me like a knife as I sat there on my bed. I was in a dorm at Seattle Pacific University, attending a week-long Christian discipleship camp. My roommate's glare was like an owl's, and I could feel his eyes pressing into me from across the room in the dark. I just told him that I was gay. How can you even call yourself a Christian? Don't you think it's wrong to live a life of sin? Why are you even here? As these questions began to shoot out at me, I felt my heart sink, as yet another person who I had opened up to rejected me. You see, some people think that I'm a bit of a walking contradiction. I've been open about my sexuality for years, and yet my faith is also incredibly important to me. And so, even though I've faced these questions before, my family, friends, and school are so accepting. But some people and some churches just don't have the same kind of open arms. And so, as I sat there on my bed, I felt the empty space where my heart had sunk become replaced with anger and resentment. How could I call myself a Christian? How could he call himself one and yet have so much hate for people like me? I wanted to stand up and shout back. I wanted to make him feel the same kind of hurt that I had faced my whole life from people like him. But I didn't. Because a year before, I had learned something important. Meeting hatred with hatred wouldn't ever accomplish anything. Here's a bit of a fun fact. The same stage that we're all going to graduate on is the same stage that Donald Trump spoke at just about a year and a half ago. And when he was there speaking, I was outside protesting. Over the course of the election, I heard that man say things that made me scared. He called my family rapists. His running mate thought that my sexuality was a mental disorder. The list goes on, but my point here is that when I heard that he would be there speaking, I knew that I would go, make my voice heard, and protest. Over in downtown Everett, we saw a long line of people wrapping around several blocks as they waited to hear Trump speak. Our voices joined those of hundreds of other protesters, all shouting and screaming at those people as they inched by. I felt as though I was delivering justice. I mean, those people supported a man who went against everything I stood for. I heard myself shout, "You're on the wrong side of history. Shame on you, America hates you." And then I saw her. This one little girl walked by. She held her father's hand with the same desperate grasp with which I held my son. And she stared up at us with wide-eyed terror on her face. She didn't deserve these shouts. She couldn't understand why so many people would scream at her and her father as they walked by and into that arena. Suddenly, my voice quieted as my anger and frustration was replaced with shame and embarrassment. This girl didn't deserve to be treated this way. Her father didn't deserve to be shamed in front of her. Even though I disagreed with the people in line, shouting and shaming wouldn't be what would change their views. For so long, I thought that if my beliefs were the right ones, that could excuse whatever my behavior would be towards those who believed differently. I thought if those who disagreed with me shouted, that meant that I could shout back. But right there, as my eyes met those of this young girl who was terrified for her life, I realized that in a shouting match, no one ever gets hurt. This girl will probably live the rest of her life associating what I thought was our message of justice and equality with those screams and chants. Sometimes the way you say something speaks more volume than the words you use. After that day, I was determined never again to be just another voice in a crowd. Don't get me wrong, I'm not speaking out against protesting. Standing up to injustice is necessary if we are to ever continue the fight for social justice that Martin Luther King started and took part in. However, as a school and as a community, we must be willing to engage in conversations with those who might disagree with us. By participating in programs like the Together series, We can grow as a school in understanding from these conversations. It doesn't matter where you stand on the political spectrum. The only way you can ever expect anyone to hear you out is if you first recognize and respect the humanity in them. It's hard, and it's challenging. But when Martin Luther King Jr. wrote to white ministers in his letter from Birmingham jail, he didn't shame or embarrass them for not standing with him, but rather he regarded them with a sense of dignity in order to convey his message. And so, as I sat there on my bed in the dorms of SPU, I didn't give in to those feelings of anger and frustration. Instead, I paused for a moment, took a deep breath, and thought, if my roommate were that young girl, what would I say to him? How would I convey my thoughts and me as a person while also seeking to understand where he was coming from? This really isn't an easy story for me to tell, and in all honesty, treating my roommate with respect right then and there is one of the hardest things I have ever done. To look someone in the eye who sees you as less than human and still find within you an ounce of respect for them is downright difficult. But I have realized something that is only best articulated by Martin Luther King Jr. himself. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. I'm not saying that just talking will solve all our problems. Rather, I'm testifying to how Martin Luther King Jr.'s speak about reconciliation and grace has affected my own life. And how if we are ever to realize his dream, we must be a school that talks and listens more than shouts. Thank you.